Ukraine-Russia crisis start. Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis, as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine. Tensions over the Ukraine-Russia crisis have been simmering for more than 2 months, with diplomatic efforts to resolve the issue showing little sign of progress. Russia has more than 100,000 troops on its border with Ukraine, sparking Western warnings of an imminent invasion. Moscow, which has repeatedly denied it plans to invade and says it is responding to aggression by NATO allies, dismisses those warnings as hysteria. Here is a timeline of the main events so far. November 2021. Satellite imagery shows a new buildup of Russian troops on the border with Ukraine, and Kiev says Moscow has mobilized 100,000 soldiers along with tanks and other military hardware. December 7, 2021. U.S. President Joe Biden warns Russia of sweeping Western economic sanctions if it invades Ukraine. December 17, 2021. Russia presents detailed security demands to the West, including that NATO ceases all military activity in Eastern Europe and Ukraine and that the alliance never accept Ukraine or other former Soviet nations as members. January 3, 2022. Biden reassures Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky that the U.S. will respond decisively if Russia invades Ukraine. The two men spoke on the phone to discuss preparations for a series of upcoming diplomatic meetings to address the crisis. January 10, 2022. U.S. and Russian officials meet in Geneva for diplomatic talks, but differences remain unresolved as Moscow repeats security demands that Washington says it cannot accept. January 24, 2022. NATO puts forces on standby and reinforces its military presence in Eastern Europe with more ships and fighter jets. Some Western nations start evacuating non-essential embassy staff from Kiev. The U.S. puts 8,500 troops on alert. January 26, 2022. Washington presents a written response to Russia's security demands, repeating a commitment to NATO's open door policy while offering a principled and pragmatic evaluation of Moscow's concerns. January 27, 2022. Biden warns of a likely Russian invasion in February. China throws its political weight behind Russia and tells the U.S. that Moscow's legitimate security concerns should be taken seriously. January 28, 2022. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia's main security demands have not been addressed but that Moscow is ready to keep talking. Ukraine's President Zelensky warns the West to avoid creating panic that will negatively affect his country's economy. January 31, 2022. U.S. and Russia spar over the Ukraine crisis at a special closed session of the UN Security Council. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield told the Council a Russian invasion of Ukraine would threaten global security. Russia's UN envoy Vasily Nebenzia accused Washington and its allies of drumming up the threat of war despite Moscow's repeated denials of a planned invasion. The discussions about a threat of war is provocative in and of itself. You are almost calling for this. You want it to happen, Nebenzia said. February 1, 2022. Putin denies planning an invasion and accuses the U.S. of ignoring his country's security demands. It is already clear that fundamental Russian concerns ended up being ignored, he said. February 6, 2022. Russia has established 70% of the military buildup it needs to launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, according to American officials cited anonymously in U.S. media. February 8, 2022. French President Emmanuel Macron meets Putin for marathon talks in Moscow and tells reporters Russia will not escalate the Ukraine crisis. However, the Kremlin denied that Macron and Putin struck a deal on de-escalating the crisis. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that, in the current situation, Moscow and Paris can't be reaching any deals. February 10, 2022. UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss and Russian FM Sergei Lavrov hold fruitless talks. In an icy press conference, Lavrov described the meeting as a conversation between a mute and a deaf person. He added that the facts presented by his team on the crisis bounced off their British counterparts. Truss, who warned of tough Western sanctions if Ukraine was attacked, challenged Lavrov about his assertion that Russia's buildup of troops and weaponry was not threatening anyone. February 11, 2022. Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, says U.S. intelligence shows a Russian invasion could begin within days, before the Beijing Olympics end on February 20th. The Pentagon ordered an additional 3,000 U.S. troops to be sent to Poland to reassure allies. Meanwhile, a number of countries called upon their citizens to leave Ukraine, with some warning that a military evacuation will not be guaranteed in the event of war. February 12, 2022. Biden and Putin hold talks via video conference. The U.S. president said a Russian invasion of Ukraine would cause widespread human suffering, and that the West was committed to diplomacy to end the crisis but equally prepared for other scenarios. Putin complained in the call that the US and NATO have not responded satisfactorily to Russian demands that Ukraine be prohibited from joining the military alliance and that NATO pull back forces from Eastern Europe. Yuri Yushakov, Putin's top foreign policy aide, said that while tensions have been escalating for months, in recent days, the situation has simply been brought to the point of absurdity. He said Biden mentioned the possible sanctions that could be imposed on Russia, but this issue was not the focus during a fairly long conversation with the Russian leader.